the CEPHER of YHWHY, which is also called the wisdom of Solomon, Shlomoh. Love righteousness, tzedakah. Ye that ye be judged of the earth, think of Yahweh with a good heart, and in simplicity of heart seek him, for he will be found of them that tempt him not, and shows himself unto such as do not distrust him. For froward thoughts separate from Elohim, and his power, when it is tried, reproved the unwise. For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in the body that is subject unto sin. For the Ruach HaKodesh of discipline will flee deceit, and remove from thoughts that are without understanding, and will not abide when unrighteousness comes in. For Chama, wisdom, is a loving Ruach, and will not acquit a blasphemer of his words. For Elohim is witness of his mind, and a true beholder of his heart, and a hearer of his tongue. For the Ruach Yahuwah fills the world, and that which contains all things has knowledge of the voice. Therefore he that speaks unrighteous things cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance, when it punishes, pass by him. For inquisition shall be made unto the counsels of wicked men, and the sound words shall come unto Yahweh for the manifestation of his wicked deeds. For the ear of jealousy hears all things, and the noise of murmuring is not hid. Therefore beware of murmuring, which is unprofitable, and refrain your tongue from backbiting. For there is no word so secret that shall go forth not, and the mouth that belies slays the soul. Seek not death in the error of your life, and pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands. For Elohim made not death, neither has he pleasure in the destruction of the living. For he created all things, that they might have their being, and the generations of the world were healthful, and there was no poison of destruction in them, nor the Malchut, the kingdom of death, upon the earth. For righteousness, tzedakah, is immortal, but wicked men with their works and words called to them, for when they thought to have it their friend, they consumed to naught, and made a covenant with it, because they are worthy to take part with it. Chokmah Shlomoh, Chapter 2, the wisdom of Shlomoh. For the wicked said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from Sheol. For we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart, which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our ruach shall vanish as the soft air, and our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as the trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passes away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man comes again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds, before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place. Simcha! For this is our portion, and this is our lot, is this. Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean, contrary to our doings. He upbraids us with our offending of the Torah, and objects to our infamy, the transgressing of our education. He professes to have the knowledge of Elohim, and he calls himself the child of Yahweh. Yes, I am. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstains from our ways, from our filthinesses. He pronounces the end of the just to be blessed, and makes his boast that Elohim is his father. Let us see if his words are true, emet, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the son of Elohim, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. Let us examine him with desperatefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them. As for the mysteries of Elohim, they knew them not, neither hoped for the wages of Zedekiah righteousness, nor discern a reward for a blameless soul. For Elohim created man to be immoral, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death unto the world, and they that hold to of his side do find it. Chokhmah Shlomoh, the wisdom of Shlomoh, Melech of Yisrael. Chapter 3. But the souls of the Zedekiah, the righteous, are in the hand of Elohim, and there shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise they seem to die, and their departure is taken for mystery, and their going from us to be utter destruction. But they are in shalom, peace, for they that be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality, and having been a little chastened, they shall be greatly rewarded. For Elohim proved them, and found them worthy for himself. As gold in the furnace has he tried them, and received them as burnt offerings. And in the time of their visitation they shall shine, and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They shall judge the nations, and have dominion over the people. And there Yahweh shall reign forever, ʻsʒləmən. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, emet, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is his kodashim, and he has care for his elect. But the wicked shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the Zedekiah, the righteousness, and forsaken Yahweh. For whoso despiseth wisdom and nurture, he is miserable, and their hope is vain. Their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. Their women are foolish, and their children wicked. Their offspring is cursed. Therefore, blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which has not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in visitation of souls. And Baruch, blessed is the eunuch which with his hands has wrought no iniquity, nor imagined wicked things against Elohim. For unto him shall be given a special gift of faith, and in an inheritance in the temple Bet Yahweh, more acceptable to his mind. For glorious is the fruit of good labors, and the root of wisdom shall never fall away. As for the children of the breakers of wedlock, they shall not come to their perfection. and the seed of the unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. For though they lived long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor. Or if they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. For horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation. 4. Chokmah Shlomah, Wisdom of Shlomoh, Chapter 4. Better it is to have no children, and to have virtue. For the memorial thereof is immortal, because it is known with Elohim and with men. When it is present, men take example at it, and when it is gone, they desire it. It wears a crown and triumphs forever, having gotten a victory, striving for undefiled rewards. But the multiplying brood of the wicked shall not thrive, nor take deep rooting from bastards' lips, nor lay any fast foundation, for though they flourished in branches for a time, yet standing not last, they shall be shaken with the wind, and through the force of winds they shall be rooted out. The imperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not ripe to eat, yea, meat for nothing. For children begotten of Torah-less beds are witnesses of wickedness against their parents in their trial. But through the righteous be prevented with death. Yet shall he be in rest. For honorable age is not that which stands in length of time, nor that is measured by number of years. But wisdom is the gray hair unto men, and an unspotted life is old age. He pleased Elohim, and was beloved of him, so that living among sinners he was translated. Yea, speedily was he taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding, or deceit beguile his soul. For the bewitching of wickedness obscures things that are honest, and the wandering of concupiscence undermines the simple mind. He, being made perfect in a short time, fulfilled a long time. For his soul pleased Yahweh, therefore hasten he to him. Take him away from among the wicked. This the people saw and understood it not, neither laid they up in their minds that his grace and his mercy is with his Kodashim, and that he has respect unto his chosen. Thus the righteous that is dead shall condemn the wicked which are living, and youth that is soon perfected the many years, and old age of the unrighteous. For they shall see the end of the wise, and shall not understand that Elohim in his counsel has decreed of him, and to what end Yahweh has sent him in safety. They shall see him and despise him, but Elohim shall laugh them to scorn, and they shall hereafter be a vile carcass, and a reproach among the dead for evermore. For he shall rend them, and cast them down headlong, that they shall be speechless, and he shall shake them from the foundation, and they shall be utterly laid waste, and be in sorrow, and their memorial shall perish. And when they cast up the accounts of their sins, they shall come with fear, and their own iniquities shall convince them to their face. The Wisdom of Solomon, YAHUDIM, Shlomoh, Chapter 5. Then shall the Tzedakah, righteous man, stand in great boldness before the Panav, the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. Then they shall see it, they shall be troubled with tremble and fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness, at his YAHUDIM, so far beyond all that they looked for, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of the Ruach shall say within themselves, This is he whom we had some time in derision, and a proverb of reproach, semicolon. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of Elohim, and his lot is among the Kodeshim? After, therefore, have we erred in the way of truth, and the light of righteousness has not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yea, we have gone through deserts where they lay no way. But as for the way of Yahweh, we have not known it. What has pride profited us? Or what good has riches with our vaunting bought us? All those things are passed away like a shadow, and as a post that hasted by, and as a ship that passes over the waves of the water, which when it is gone by, the trace thereof cannot be found, neither the pathway of the keel in the waves. Or, as when a bird has flown through the air, there is no sign of her way to be found, but the light air being beaten with the stroke of her wing, and parted with the violent noise and motion of them, is passed through. And therein afterward no sign where she went is to be found. Or like as when an arrow is shot at a mark, it parts the air, which immediately comes together again, so that a man cannot know where it went through. Even so we, in like manner, as soon as we are born, we began to draw to our end, and had no sign of virtue to show, but were consumed in our wickedness. For the hope of the wicked is like dust that is blown away with the wind, like a thin froth that is driven away with the storm, like as the smoke which is dispersed here and there with a tempest, and passes away as a remembrance, of a guest that tarries but a day. But the Tzedakah, the righteous, live forevermore. Their rewards also is with you, Yahweh, and the care of them is with El Elyon. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom and a beautiful crown from Yahweh's hand, semicolon. For with his right hand shall he cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them. He shall take to him his jealousy for complete armor, and make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. He shall put on righteousness, Tzedakah, as a breastplate, and a true judgment instead of a helmet. He shall take kodeshness, holiness, for an invincible shield. His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. Then shall the right, aiming thunderbolts, go abroad, and from the clouds as from a well-drawn bow they shall fly to the mark, and hailstone full of wrath shall be cast out of a stone bow, and a water of the sea shall rage against them, and the floods shall cruelly drown them. Yea, a mighty wind shall stand up against them, and like a storm shall blow them away. This iniquity shall lay waste the whole earth, and ill-dealing shall overthrow the thrones of the mighty. 6. Chokhmah Shalomah, the wisdom of Shlomoh. Shema, chapter 6. Hear, therefore, O ye kings, and understand, learn ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory to the multitude of nations, for power is given you of Yahweh, and sovereignty from El Elyon, who shall try your works and search out your counsels, because being ministers of his kingdom, Malchut, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the Torah, nor walked after the counsel of Elohim. Horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. For mercy will soon pardon the meanest, but mighty men shall be mightily tormented. For he which is Yahweh over all shall fear no man's person, neither shall he stand in awe of any man's greatness, semicolon. For he has made the small and the great, and cares for all alike. But a sore trial shall come upon the mighty. Unto you therefore, O kings, do I speak, that ye may learn wisdom, Chokhmah, and not fall away. For they that guard kodeshness purely shall be judged holy, kodesh, and they that have learned such things shall find what to answer. Wherefore set your affection upon my words, desire them, and ye shall be instructed. Wisdom is glorious, and never fades away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. She prevents them that desire her in making herself first known unto them. Whoso seeks her shall eat early, shall have no great travail, for he shall find her sitting at his doors. To think, therefore, upon her is perfection of wisdom, semicolon. And whoso watches for her shall quickly be without care. For she goes about seeking such as are worthy of her, shows herself favorably unto them in the ways, and meets them in every thought. For the very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline, and the care of discipline is love. And love is the keeping of her Torah, and the giving heed unto her Torah is the assurance of incorruption. And incorruption makes us near unto Elohim. Therefore, the desire of wisdom brings to a malchut, a kingdom. If your delight be then in thrones and scepters, O ye kings of the people, honor wisdom, that ye may reign forevermore. As for wisdom, what is she, and how she came up, I will tell you, and will not hide mysteries from you, but will seek her out from the beginning of her nativity, and bring the knowledge of her unto light, and will not pass over the truth, neither will I go with consuming envy, for such a man shall have no fellowship with wisdom. But the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and a wise king is the upholding of the people. Receive therefore instructions through my words, and it shall do you good. 7. Chokmah Shlomoh, the wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 7. I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth. And in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep. And when I was born, I drew in the common air, and fell upon the earth, which is like nature. And the first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do. I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and with cares. For there is no king that had any other beginnings of birth. For all men have one entrance into life, and like going out. Wherefore I pray, and understanding was given me. I call upon Elohim, and the Ruach HaKodesh of wisdom, Chokmah, came to me. I preferred her before scepters and thrones, and esteemed riches nothing in comparison to her. Neither compared I unto her any precious stone, because all gold in respect of her is as of little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her. I loved her above healthy and beauty, and chose to have her instead of light. For the light that comes from her never goes out. All good things together came to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hands, and I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goes before them, and I knew not that she was the mother of them. I learned diligently, and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches, for she is a treasure unto men that never fails, which they that use become the friends of Elohim, being commended for the gifts that come from learning. Elohim has granted me to speak as I would, and to conceive as meet for the things that are given to me, because it is he that leads unto wisdom and directs the wise. For in his hand are both we and our words. All wisdom also, and knowledge of workmanship. For he has given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operations of the elements, the beginning, the ending, and the midst of the times, and alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons, the circuits of years, and the positions of stars, and the nature of living creatures, and the furies of the wild beasts, and violence and of winds, and the reasoning of men, the diversities of plants, and the virtues of roots, and all such things as are either secret or manifest. Them I know, for wisdom, which is the worker of all things, taught me, for in her is an understanding Ruach Kodesh, one Echad only, one only, manifold, subtil, lively, clear, undefiled, plain, not subject to hurt, loving the thing that is good, quick, which cannot be letted, ready to do good, kind to men, steadfast, sure, free from care, having all power, overseeing all things, and going through all understanding, pure and most subtle Ruach. For wisdom is more moving than any motion, She passes and goes through all things by reason of her purpose. For she is the breath of the power of Elohim, and a pure influence flowing from the glory, the Shekinah, the Olam of El Shaddai, semicolon. Therefore, can no defiled thing fall into her, for she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of Elohim, and the image of his goodness, and Tov, and being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in her, she makes all things new. And in all ages entering into the Kodesh Nefesh, holy souls, she makes them friends of Elohim, as Na'abi, prophets. For Elohim loves none but him that dwells with wisdom, for she is more beautiful than the sun, and above all the orders of the stars, semicolon. Being compared with the light, she is found before it. For after this comes night, semicolon, but vice shall not prevail against wisdom. 8. Chokhmah Shlomoh, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8. Wisdom reaches from one end to another mightily, and sweetly she orders all things. I loved her and sought her out from my youth. I desired to make her my spouse, and I was her lover of her beauty, in that she is conversant with Elohim. She magnifies her nobility, semicolon. Yea, Yahweh of all things himself loved her, for she is privy to the mysteries of the knowledge of Elohim, and a lover of his works. If riches be a possession to be desired in his life, what is richer than wisdom, and works all things? And if prudence work, who of all that are is a more cunning workman than she? And if a man love tzedakness, righteousness, her labors are virtues, semicolon. For she teaches temperance and prudence, justice and fortitude, which are such things as men can have nothing more profitable in their life. If a man desire much experience, she knows things of old, and conjectures aright what is to come. She knows the subtitles of speeches, and can expound dark sentences, semicolon. For she foresees signs and wonders, and the events of seasons and times. Therefore I purpose to take her to me, to live with me, knowing that she would be a counselor of good things, and a comfort in cares and grief. For her sake I shall have estimation among the multitude, and honor with the elders. Though I be young, I shall be found of a quick conceit in judgment, and shall be admired in the sight of great men. When I hold my tongue, they shall bide my leisure, and when I speak, they shall give good ear unto me. If I talk much, they shall lay their hands upon their mouth. Moreover, by the means of her I shall obtain immortality, and leave behind me an everlasting memorial to them that come after me. I shall set the people in order, and the goyim, the nations, shall be subject unto me. Horrible tyrants shall be afraid when they do but hear of me. I shall be found good among the multitude, and valiant in war. After I am come unto my house, I will repose myself with her, for her conversation has no bitterness, and to live with her has no sorrow, but mirth and joy, simcha. Now, when I considered these things in myself, I pondered them in my heart, and that to be ailed unto wisdom is immortality, and great pleasure to it is to have her friendship, and in the works of her hands are infinite riches, and in the exercise of conference with her prudence, and in talking with her a good tov report. I went about seeking how to take her to me. For I was a witty child, and I had a good ruach. Yea, rather, being good, I came unto a body undefiled. Nevertheless, when I perceived that I could not otherwise obtain her, except Elohim gave her me, and that was a point of wisdom, also to know whose gift she was, I prayed unto Yahweh, and besought him, and with my whole heart I said, O Elohim. 9. Chapter 9, Hakma Shlomoh. Nevertheless, when I perceived that I could not otherwise obtain her except Elohim gave her me, and that was point of wisdom also to know whose gift she was, I prayed unto Yahweh, and besought him, and with my whole heart I said, chapter 9, O Elohim of my fathers, and Yahweh of mercy, who have made all things with your word, Devorim, and ordained man through your wisdom, that he should have dominion over the creatures which you have made, and order the world according to equity and tzedakness, righteousness, and execute judgment with an upright heart. Give me wisdom that sits by your throne, and rejects me not from among your children. For I, your servant and son of your handmaid, am a feeble person, and of a short time, and too young for the understanding of judgment and Torah. For though a man be never so perfect among the children of men, yet if your wisdom be not with him, he shall be nothing regarded. You have chosen me to be a king of your people, and a judge of your sons and daughters. Semicolon. You have commanded me to build a house, Bet Yah, temple, unto your holy mount, and an altar in the city wherein you dwell, a resemblance of a holy tabernacle which you have prepared from the beginning. And wisdom was with you, which knows your works, and was present when you made the world, and knew what was acceptable in your sight, and right in your commandments. O send her out of your Kodesh Shamayim, your holy heavens, and from the throne of your glory, that being present she may labor with me, that I may know what is pleasing unto you. For she knows and understands all things, and she shall lead me soberly in my doings, and preserve me in her power. So shall my works be acceptable, and then shall I judge your people zadokly, righteously, and be worthy to sit in my Father's seat. For what man is he that can knoweth the counsel of Elohim? Or who can think what the will of Yahweh is? For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain. For the corruptible body presses down the soul, and the earthly tabernacle weighs down the mind, that muses upon many things. And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon the earth, and with the labor do we find the things that are before us. But the things that are in the Shamayim, the heaven, who has searched out? And your counsel, who has known, except you give wisdom, and send your Ruach HaKodesh from above? For so the ways of them which live on the earth were reformed, and men were taught the things that are pleasing unto you, and were saved through wisdom. Wisdom of Shlomoh, chapter 10. She preserved the first formed father of the world, that was created alone, and brought him out from his fall, and gave him power to rule all things. But when the unrighteousness went away from her in his anger, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother, for whose cause the earth being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it, and directed the course of the righteous in a piece of wood of small value. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous, and preserved him blameless unto Elohim, and kept him strong against his tender compassions toward his son. When the wicked perish, she delivered the righteous man, who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities, of whose wickedness even to this day the wasteland that smokes is a testimony, and bears plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness. And a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul, for regarding not wisdom, they got not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness, so that in the things wherein they offered they could not so much as be hid, but wisdom delivered from pain those that attended upon her. When the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in right paths, tzedakness, showing him the Malkut Eloyon, kingdom of Elohim, and gave him knowledge of Kodesh things, made him rich in his travels, and multiplied the fruit of his labors. In the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him, and made him rich. She defended him from his enemies, and kept him safe from those that lay in wait, and in a sore conflict she gave the victory, that he might know that goodness is stronger than all. When the tzedak, the righteous, was sold, she forsook him not, but Shua delivered him from sin. She went down with him to the pit, and left him not in bonds. Till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom, and powers against those that oppressed him. As for them that had accused him, she showed them to be liars, and gave him perpetual glory. She delivered the Zadok, the righteous people, and blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them. She entered into the soul of the servant of Yahweh, and withstood dreadful kings in wonders and signs, rendered to the righteous a reward of their labors, guided them in a marvelous way, and was unto them for a cover by day, and a light of stars in the night season, brought them through the Red Sea, and led them through much water. But she drowned their enemies, and cast them up out of the bottom of the deep. Therefore the Zadok righteous spoiled the wicked, and praised Baruch, your Kodesh Hashem, your Kodesh name, O Yahweh, and magnified with one accord your hand, Yod, and fought for them. For Chokmah, wisdom, opened the mouth of the dumb, and made the tongues of them that cannot speak eloquent. 11. Chokmah Shalamah, Wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 11. She prospered their works in the hand of the Kodesh Nabi, the prophets. They went through the wilderness that has not inhabited, and pitched tents in places where they lay no way. They stood against their enemies, and were avenged of their adversaries. When they were thirsty, they called up on you, and water was given them out of the flinty rock, and their thirst was quenched out of the hard stone. For by what things their enemies were punished, By the same they, in their need, were benefited. For instead of a perpetual running river troubled with foul blood, for a manifest reproof of the commandment, whereby the infants were slain, you gave unto them abundance of water by means which they hoped not for, declaring by that thirst then how you had punished their adversaries. For when they were tried, albeit but in mercy, chastised, they knew how the wicked were judged in wrath and tormenting, thirsting in another manner than the just. For these you did admonish and try as a father, but the other, a severe king, you did condemn and punish. Whether they were absent or present, they were vexed alike. For a double grief came upon them, and a groaning for the remembrance of past things. For when they heard by their own punishment the other to be benefited, they had some feeling of Yahweh. For when they respected with scorn, when he was long before thrown out and at the casting forth of the infants, him in the end, when they saw what came to pass, they admired. But for the foolish devices of their wickednesses, wherewith being deceived they worshipped serpents, void of any reason, and vile beasts, you did send a multitude of unreasonable beasts upon them for vengeance, that they might know that wherewithal a man sins, by the same also shall he be punished. For your almighty hand that made the world of matter without form wanted not means to send among them a multitude of bears, or fierce lions, or unknown wild beasts, full of rage, newly created, breathing out either a fiery vapor or filthy scents of scattered smoke, or shooting horrible sparkles out of their eyes, whereof not only the harm might dispatch them at once, but also the terrible sight utterly destroy them. Yea, and without these might they have fallen down with one blast, being persecuted of vengeance, and scattered abroad through the breadth of your power. But you have ordered all things in measure and number and weight. For you can show your great strength at all times when you will, and you may withstand the power of your arm. For the whole world before you is as a grain in the balance, yea, as a drop in the morning dew that falls down upon the earth. But you have chesed, mercy, upon all, for you can do all things, and wink at the sins of men, because they should amend. For you love all things that are, and abhor nothing which you have made. For never would you have made anything if you had hated it, and how could anything have endured if it had not been your will, or been preserved, if not called by you? But you spare all, for they are yours, O Yahweh, lover of souls. 12. Chokmah Shlomoh, the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12. For your incorruptible ruach is in all things. Therefore chasten them by little and little that offend, and warn them by putting them in remembrance, wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness they may believe on you, O Yahweh. For it was your will to destroy by the hands of our father both those old inhabitants of your Kodesh holy land, whom you hated for doing most odious works of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices, and also those merciless murderers of children, and the devourers of men's flesh, and the feasts of blood, with their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew, and the parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help, that the land which you esteemed above all others might receive a worthy colony of Elohim's children. Nevertheless, even those you spared as men, and did send wasps, forerunners of your host, to destroy them by little and little. Not that you were unable to bring the wicked under the hand of the righteous in battle, or to destroy them at once with cruel beasts, or with one rough word, but executing your judgments upon them by little and little, you gave them place of repentance, not being ignorant that they were a naughty generation, and that their malice was bred in them, and that their congregation would never be changed. For it was a cursed seed from the beginning, neither did you, for fear of any man, give them pardon for those things wherein they sinned. For who shall say, What have you done? Or who shall withstand your judgment? Or who shall accuse you for the nations that perish, whom you made? Or who shall come to stand against you to be revenged for the unrighteous men? For neither is there any Elohim but you that cares for all, to whom you might show that your judgment is not upright. Neither shall king or tyrant be able to set his face against you for any whom you have punished. Forasmuch then as you are Zadok, righteous yourself, you order all things righteously, thinking it not agreeable with your power to condemn him that has not deserved to be punished. For your power is the beginning of Zadokness, righteousness, and because you are Yahweh of all, Tezavot, it makes you to be gracious unto all. For when men will not believe that you are of a full power, you show your strength, and among them that know it you make their boldness manifest. But you, mastering your power, judge with equity, and order us with great favor. For you may use power when you will, but by such works have you taught your people that the just man should be merciful, and have made your children to be of good hope, that you give repentance for sins. So For if you did punish the enemies of your children, and condemn to death with such deliberation, giving them time and place whereby they might be delivered from their own malice, with how great circumspection did you judge your own sons, unto whose fathers you have sworn and made covenants of good promises. Therefore, whereas you do chasten us, you scourge our enemies 1,000 times more, to that intent that when we judge, we should carefully think of your goodness. And when we ourselves are judged, we should look for mercy. Wherefore, whereas men have lived dissolutely and unrighteously, you have tormented them with their own abominations. For they went astray very far in the ways of error, and held them for Elohim, which even among the beasts of their enemies were dispersed, being deceived as children of no understanding. Therefore, unto them as to children, without the use of reason, you did send a judgment to mock them. But they that would not be reformed by the correction wherein he dallied with them, shall feel a judgment worthy of Elohim. For look, for what things they grudged when they were punished, that is, for them who they thought to be Elohim, now being punished in them. When they saw it, they acknowledged him to be the Emet, the true Elohim, whom before they denied to know, and therefore came extreme damnation upon them. 13. Chachma Shalomah, wisdom of Shlomoh. 13. Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of Elohim, and could not out of the good things that they are seen known him that is. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind or swift air, or the circle of the stars, or the violent water, or the lights of the heaven to be the Elohim which govern the world, with whose beauty, if they, being delighted, took them to be Elohim, let them know how much better Yahweh of them is. For the first author of beauty has created them. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionately the Maker of them is seen. But yet for this they are the less to be blamed. For they are peradventure seeking Elohim, and desirous to find him, for being conversant in his words, they search him diligently, and believe their sight, because the things are beautiful that are seen. Howbeit, neither are they to be pardoned. For if they were able to know so much, that they could aim at the world, how did they not soon find out Yahweh thereof. But miserable are they, and in dead things is their hope, who call them Elohim, which are the works of men's hands, gold and silver, to show art in, and resemblance of beasts, or a stone good for nothing, the work of an ancient hand. Now a carpenter that fells timber, after he has sawn down a tree, meet for the purpose, and taken off all its bark skillfully round about, and has brought it handsomely, and made a vessel thereof fit for a service of man's life, and after spending and the refuge of his work to dress his meat, and has filled himself, and taking the very refuse among those which serve to no use, being a crooked piece of wood, and full of knots, has carved it diligently, when he had nothing else to do, and formed it by the skill of his understanding, and fashioned it into the image of a man, or made it like some vile beast, laying it over with vermilion, and with paint coloring it red, and covering every spot therein. And when he had made a convenient room for it, set it in a wall, and made it fast with irons. For he provided for it that it might not fall, knowing that it was unable to help itself. For it is an image, and has need of help. Then makes he prayers for his goods, for his women, and his children, and is not ashamed to speak to that which has no life. For health he calls upon that which is weak, for he prays to which is dead. For amid humbly beseech that which has least means to help. And for a good journey he asks that which cannot set a foot forward, and for gaining and getting, and for good success of his hands asks ability to do him that is most unable to do anything. 14. Chokmah Shlomoh, Wisdom of Shlomoh. 14. Again, one preparing himself to sail, and about to pass through the raging waves, calls upon a piece of wood more rotten than the vessel that carries him. For verily desire of gain devised that, and the workman built by it by skill. But your providence, O Abba, Father, governs it. For you have made a way in the sea, and a safe path in the waves, showing that you can save from all danger. Yea, though a man went to sea without art, nevertheless you would not that the works of your wisdom should be idle. And therefore do men commit their lives to a small piece of wood, and passing the rough sea in a weak vessel are saved. For in the old times also, when the proud giants, the Nephilim, perished, and hope for the world, governed by your hand, escaped in a weak vessel, and left to the ages a seed of generation. For Baruch, blessed is the wood whereby righteousness comes, but that which is made with the hands is cursed, as well it, as he that made it. He, because he made it, and it, because being corruptible, it was called Elohim. For the wicked and his wickednesses are both alike hateful unto Elohim, for that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. Therefore, even upon the idols of the other peoples shall there be a visitation, because in the creation of Elohim they are become an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life. For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. For by the vain glory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they commit shortly to an end. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he has made an image of his child soon taken away, now honored him as an Elohim, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Thus in process of time a wicked custom grown strong and kept as a law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of the king, whom men could not honor in presence because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of this vestige from afar, and made an express image of a king whom they honored, to the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent, as if he were present. Also, the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition. He, peradventure, willing to please one in authority, forced all his skills to make the resemblance of the best fashion. And so the multitude, allured by the grace of the world, took him now for an Elohim, which a little before was but honored. And this was an occasion to deceive the world. For men, serving either calamity or tyrants, did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name. Moreover, this was not enough for them, that they erred in the knowledge of Elohim, but whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance, those so great plagues called they peace. For while they slew their children in the sacrifice, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites, they kept neither lives nor marriage any longer undefiled, but either one slew another traitorously, or grieved him by breaking wedlock, so that there reigned in all men without exception blood, manslaughter, theft, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness, tumults, perjury, disquieting of good men, forgetfulness of good turns, defiling of souls, changing of kind, disorder in marriages, breaking wedlock, and shameless uncleanness. For the worshipping of idols, not to be named, is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. For either they are mad when they be merry, or prophesy lies, or live unjustly, or else lightly forswear themselves. For insomuch as their trust is in idols, which have no life, though they swear falsely, yet they look not to be hurt. Howbeit, for the both causes shall they be justly punished, both because they thought not well of Elohim, giving heed unto idols, and also unjustly swore in deceit, despising kodeshness. For it is not the power of them by whom they swear, but it is the just vengeance of sinners that punishes always the offense of the wicked. 15. Chokmah Shlomoh, Wisdom of Shlomoh. But you, O Elohim, are gracious and emet, true, long-suffering, and in mercy ordering all things. For it, if we sin, we are yours, knowing your power. But we will not sin, knowing that we are counted yours. For to know you is perfect tzedakness, righteousness. Yea, to know your power is the root of immortality. For neither did the mischievous invention of men deceive us, nor an image spotted with diverse colors, the painter's fruitless labor, the sight whereof entices fools to lust after it. And so they desire the form of a dead image that has no breath. Both they that make them, they that desire them, and they that worship them are lovers of evil things, and the worthy to have such things to trust upon. For the potter, tempering soft earth, fashions every vessel, with much labor for our service. Yea, of the same clay he makes both the vessel that serve us for clean uses, and likewise also such that serve to the contrary. But that is the use of either sort. The potter himself is the judge. And employing his labors lewdly, he makes a vain Elohim of the same clay, even he which a little before was made of the earth himself, and within a little while after returns to the same, out of his life which has lent him shall be demanded. Notwithstanding his care is, not that he shall have much labor, nor that his life is so short, but strive to excel goldsmiths and silversmiths, and endeavors to do like the workers in brass, and counts it his glory to make counterfeit things. His heart is ashes, his hope is more vile than the earth, and his life of less value than the clay. Forasmuch as he knew not his Maker, and him that inspired into him an active soul, and breathed a living ruach, but they counted our life a pastime, and our time here a market for gain. For, say they, we must be getting every way, though it be by evil means. For this man, that of earthly matters makes brittle vessels and graven images, knows himself to offend above all others, and all the enemies of your people that hold them in subjection are most foolish, and are more miserable than very babes. For they counted all the idols of the heathen to be Elohim, which neither have the use of eyes to see, nor noses to draw breath, nor ears to hear, nor fingers of hands to handle. And as for their feet, they are slow to go. For man made them, and he that borrowed his own ruach fashioned them. But no man can make an Elohim like unto himself. For being mortal, he works a dead thing with wicked hands. For he himself is better than the things which he worshipped, whereas he lived once, but they never. Yea, they worship those beasts also that are most hateful. For being compared together, some are worse than others. Neither are they beautiful so much as to be desired in respect of beasts. But they went without the praise of Elohim and his blessing. Chokmah, Shalomah, Wisdom of Shlomoh, chapter 16. Therefore, by the like were they punished worthily, and by the multitude of beasts tormented, instead of which punishment, dealing graciously with your own people, you prepared for them meat of a strange taste, even quails to stir up their appetites, to the end that they, desiring food, might for the ugly sight of beasts send among them loathe even that, which they must needs desire. But these suffering penury for a short space might be made partakers of a strange taste, for it was requisite that upon them exercising tyranny should they come penury, which they could not avoid. But to these it should only be showed how their enemies were tormented. For when the horrible fierceness of beasts came upon these, and they perished with the stings of crooked serpents, your wrath endured not forever, but they were troubled for a small season, that they might be admonished, having a sign of Yeshua, to put them in remembrance of the commandment of your Torah. For he that turned himself towards it was not saved by the things that he saw, but by you that are the Mashiach, Savior of all. And in this you made your enemies confess that it is you who will deliver them from all evil. For them the bitings of grasshoppers and fleas killed, neither was there found any remedy for their life. For they were worthy to be punished by such. But your sons, not the very teeth of venomous dragons, overcame. For your mercy was ever by them, and healed them, for they were pricked, that they should remember your words, and were quickly saved. That not keeping into deep forgetfulness, they might be continually mindful of your goodness, Tov. For it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health, but your devorum, your word, O Yahweh, which heals, Rapha, all things. For you have power of Kai, life and death. You lead to the gates of Sheol, and bring up again. A man indeed kills through his malice, and the Ruach, when it is gone forth, returns not, neither the soul receives up, comes again. But it is not possible to escape your hand, for the wicked that deny to know you were scourged by the strength of your arm, with strange rains, hails, and showers. Were they persecuted that they could not avoid, and through 5 were there consumed. For which is most to be wondered at? The fire had more force in the water that quenches all things. For the world fights for the righteous. For sometimes the flames were mitigated, that it might not build up the beasts that were sent against the wicked, but themselves might see and perceive that they were persecuted with the judgments of Elohim. And at another time it burns even in the midst of the waters above the power of fire, that it might destroy the fruits of an unjust land. Instead whereof you fed your own people with angels' food, and did send them from heaven bread prepared without their labor, able to content every man's delight, and agreeing to every taste. For your sustenance declared your sweetness unto your children, and serving to the appetite of the eater, tempered itself to every man's liking. But snow and ice endured the fire, and melted not, that they might know that fire burning in the hail, and sparkling in the rain, did destroy the fruits of the enemies. But this again did even forget his own strength, that the tzedak, the righteous, might be nourished. For the creature that serves you, who are the maker, increases his strength against the unrighteous for their punishment, and abates his strength for the benefit of such as put their trust in you. Therefore, even Then was it altered into all fashions, and was obedient to your grace, that nourishes all things, according to the desire of them that had need. That your children, O Yahweh, whom you love, might know that it is not the growing of the fruits that nourishes man, but that it is your word, which preserves them that put their trust in you. For that which was not destroyed of the fire, being warmed with a little sunbeam, soon melted away, that it might be known that we must prevent the sun to give you thanks. And at the day spring pray unto you, for the hope of the unthankful shall melt away at the winter's hoar frost, and shall run away as unprofitable water. Chokmah Shlomoh, Wisdom of Shlomoh. Chapter 17. For great are your judgments, and cannot be expressed. Therefore unnurtured souls have erred. For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the Kodesh nation, they being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness, and fettered with the bonds of a long night, lay there exiled from the eternal providence. For while they supposed to lie hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions. For neither might the corners that held them keep them from fear, but noises as of water falling down sounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them with heavy countenances. No power of the fire might give them light, neither could the bright flame of the stars endure to lighten that horrible night. Only there appeared unto them a fire kindled of itself, very dreadful. For being much terrified, they thought the things which they saw to be worse than the sight they saw not. As for the illusions of art magic, they were put down, and their vaunting in wisdom was reproved with disgrace. For they that promised to drive away terrors and troubles from the sick soul were sick themselves of fear, worthy to be laughed at. For though no terrible thing did fear them, yet being scarred with beasts that passed by, and hissing of serpents, they died for fear, denying that they saw the error, which could of no side be avoided. For wickedness condemned by her own wickedness is very timorous, and being pressed with conscience, always forecast grievous things. For fear is nothing else but a betraying of the helps which reason offers, and the expectation from within, being less, counts the ignorance more than the cause which brings that torment. But they, sleeping the same sleep that night, which was indeed intolerable, and which came upon them out of the bottoms of inevitable Sheol, death, were partly vexed with monstrous apparitions, and partially fainted, their hearts failing them, for a sudden fear, and not looked for, came upon them. So when the whosoever there fell down was straitly kept shut up in a prison without bars. For whether he were a husbandman, or a shepherd, or a laborer in the field, he was overtaken, and endured the necessity which could not be avoided. For they were all bound with one chain of darkness, whether it were with a whistling wind, or a melodious noise of birds among the spreading branches, or a pleasing fall of water running violently, or a terrible sound of stones cast down, or the running that could not be seen of skipping beasts, or the roaring voice of most savage wild beasts, or a rebounding echo from the hollow mountains. These things made them to swoon for fear, for the whole earth shined with clear light, and none were hindered in their labor. Over them only was spread a heavy night, an image of that darkness which should afterward receive them, but yet were they unto themselves more grievous than the darkness. 18. Chachma Shlomoh, Wisdom of Shlomoh 18. Nevertheless, your Kodashim had a very great light, whose voice they hearing, and not seeing their shape, because they also had not suffered the same thing, they counted them happy. But for that they did not hurt them now, of whom they had been wronged before, they thanked them, and besought them pardon for that they had been enemies. Instead whereof you gave them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide of the unknown journey, and a harmless sun to entertain them honorably. For they were worthy to be deprived of light and imprisoned in darkness, who had kept your sons shut up, by whom the incorrupt light of the Torah was to be given unto the world. And when they had determined to slay the babes of the Kodashim, one child being cast forth and saved, to reprove them, you took away the multitude of their children, and destroyed them among in a mighty water, of that night where our fathers certified afore, that assuredly knowing unto what oaths they had given credence, they might afterwards be of good cheer. So of your people was accepted both that YAHUDIM of tzedak, righteousness, and destruction of the enemies. For wherewith you did punish our adversaries, by the same you did glorify us, whom you had called. For the righteous children of Tov, good men, did sacrifice secretly, and with one consent made a holy law, that the Kodashim should be like partakers in the same Tov, good and evil. The fathers now singing out the songs of praise, but on the other side there sounded an ill-according cry of the enemy, and a lamentable noise was carried abroad from children that were bewailed. The master and the servant were punished after one manner, and like as the king, so suffered the common person. So they all together had innumerable dead, with one kind of death. Neither were the living sufficient to bury them, nor in one moment the noblest offspring of them was destroyed. For whereas they would not believe anything by reason of enchantments, upon the destruction of the firstborn they acknowledged this people to be the sons of Elohim. For while all things were in quiet silence, and that night was in the midst of her swift course, your almighty word leaped down from the Shamayim, the heaven, out of your royal throne, as a fierce man of war unto the midst of a land of destruction, and brought your unfeigned commandment as a sharp sword, and standing up filled all things with death. And it touched the heaven, but it stood upon the earth. And then suddenly visions of horrible dreams trembled them sore, and terrors came upon them unlooked for, and one thrown here, and another there, half dead, shown the cause of his death, for the dreams that troubled them did foreshow this, lest they should perish, and not know why they were afflicted. Yea, the tasting of death touched the righteous also, and there was a destruction of the multitude in the wilderness, but the wrath endured not long. For then the blameless man made haste, and stood forth to defend them, and bring the shield of his proper ministry, even prayer, and for propitiation of incense, set himself against the wrath, and so brought the calamity to an end, declaring that he was your servant. So he overcame the destroyer, not with the strength of his body, nor force of arms, but with the word subdued him that punished, alleging the oaths and the covenants made with the fathers. For when the dead were now fallen down by heaps, one upon another, standing between, he stayed the wrath, and parted the way to the living. For in a long garment was the whole world, and in 4 rows of the stones was the glory of the fathers graven, and your majesty upon the diadem of his head. Unto these the destroyer gave place, and was afraid of them, for it was enough that they only tasted the wrath. 19. Chachma Shlomoh, Wisdom of Shlomoh. Conclusion. Chapter 19. As for the wicked, wrath came upon them without mercy unto the end, for he knew before what they would do, how that having given them leave to depart, and sent them hastily away, they would repent and pursue them. For while they were yet mourning and making lamentations at the graves of the dead, they added another foolish device, and pursued them as fugitives, whom they had entreated to be gone. For the destiny whereof they were worthy drew unto them this end, and made them forget the things that had already happened, that they might fulfill the punishment which was wanting to their torments, and that your people might pass a wonderful way, but they might find a strange death. For the whole creature in his proper kind was fashioned again anew, serving the particular commandments that were given unto them, that your children might be kept without hurt, as namely a cloud shadowing the camp, and where waters stood before, dry land appeared, and out of the Red Sea a way without impediment, and out of a violent stream a green field. Wherefore all the people went that were defended with your hand, seeking your marvelous strange wonders. For they went a large like horses, and leaped like lambs, praising you, O Yahweh, who had delivered them. For they were yet mindful of the things that were done while they sojourned in the strange land, how the ground brought forth flies instead of cattle, and how the river cast up a multitude of frogs instead of fishes. But afterward they saw a new generation of fowls, when, being led with their appetite, they asked delicate meats. For quails came upon them from the sea for their contentment, and punishments came upon the sinners, not without former signs by force of thunders. For they suffered justly according to their own wickedness, insomuch as they used a more hard and hateful behavior towards strangers. For the Sidonians did not receive those whom they knew not when they came, but these brought friends into bondage that had well deserved of them. And not only so, but peradventure some respect shall be had of those, because they use strangers not friendlily. But these very grievous afflicted them whom they had received with feasting, and were already made partakers of the same laws with them. Therefore, even with blindness were these stricken, as those were the doors of the righteous man, when being compassed about with horrible great darkness, everyone sought the passage of his own doors. For the elements were changed in themselves by a kind of harmony, like as in a psaltery of notes change the name of the tune, and yet are always sounds, which may well be perceived by the sight of the things that have been done. For earthly things were turned into watery, and the things that bound swarm in the water now went upon the ground, and the fire had power in the water, forgetting his own virtue, and the water forgot his own quenching nature. On the other side, the flames wasted not the flesh of the corruptible living things. Though they walked therein, neither melted they the ice kind of heavenly meat was of nature apt to melt. For in all things, O Yahweh, you did magnify your people, and glorify them, neither did you lightly regard them, but did assist them in every time and every place. The wisdom of Solomon. We thank you for joining. This is Mr. Vance, and it has been my pleasure. Please like, share, comment, and download. Give them to your friends. This is important if we... Shalom.